For years, many Rush fans believed they would never hear these songs performed live again. When legendary drummer and lyricist Neil Peart passed away in 2020, it felt like the final chapter had been written. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson repeatedly said that Neil was irreplaceable, and many fans agreed. Rush wasn't just another band, it was three musicians whose chemistry seemed impossible to recreate. But time has a way of changing perspectives. After more than a decade away from touring, Geddy and Alex made an emotional decision. Instead of trying to replace Neil, they would celebrate everything the band had built over more than 50 years. That decision became the 50-something tour, not a reunion pretending the past never changed, but a tribute to Rush's music, friendship, and Neil Peart's lasting legacy. One of the biggest questions, however, remained unanswered. Who could possibly sit behind Neil Peart's legendary drum kit? The answer surprised many fans. German drummer Anika Nilles, known for her remarkable technical skill and creative style, Nilles didn't try to become the next Neil Peart. Instead, she focused on honoring the music while bringing her own musicianship to the stage, a decision that earned the respect of both Geddy and Alex. That approach became especially clear during one of Rush's most iconic songs, Tom Sawyer. For longtime fans, this wasn't just another performance, it was the moment everyone had been waiting to see. Could anyone capture the power, precision, and emotion of Neil's unforgettable drum parts without simply copying them? As the opening notes echoed through the arena, thousands of fans held their breath. When the familiar synthesizer intro of Tom Sawyer filled the arena, the atmosphere changed instantly. For Rush fans, this wasn't just another hit. It was one of the band's defining songs, a track built on Geddy Lee's driving bass and vocals, Alex Lifeson's textured guitar work, and Neil Peart's legendary drumming. Every fill, every accent, and every dynamic shift is deeply connected to the song's identity. That meant all eyes were on Anika Nilles. Rather than trying to imitate every movement Neil ever made, Nilles approached the performance with deep respect for the original arrangement. She preserved the essential drum parts that fans know by heart while playing them with her own touch and feel. It was a balance that required tremendous discipline. Instead of turning the song into a showcase for herself, she kept the spotlight on the music. As Tom Sawyer unfolded, Geddy and Alex looked comfortable and energized. Years of history seemed to come alive again. Not because they were attempting to recreate the past exactly, but because they were sharing the songs with the same passion that made Rush special in the first place. Fans quickly noticed that this wasn't about replacing Neil Peart. It was about honoring everything he created while allowing the music to continue connecting generations of listeners. By the time the final notes rang out, the audience erupted in applause. But the performance raised an even bigger question. For Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, choosing a drummer was never about finding another Neil Peart. They knew that was impossible. Neil's technical brilliance, songwriting, and decades-long friendship with his bandmates made him one of a kind. Trying to duplicate him note for note would have felt more like an imitation than a celebration. That's one reason Anika Nilles stood out. Long before joining the 50-something tour, Nilles had earned international recognition for her original playing style. Through her solo work, educational videos, and clinics, she built a reputation for combining advanced technique with creativity and musicality. Those qualities made her respected by drummers around the world, not because she sounded like Neil, but because she had developed her own voice. During preparations for the tour, Nilles focused on learning Rush's music with great care. She studied the songs closely to preserve the arrangements fans expected while staying true to her own musical instincts. That balance allowed Geddy and Alex to perform with confidence, knowing the spirit of the music remained intact rather than becoming a simple tribute act. Fans soon noticed something else. The chemistry on stage felt genuine. Geddy smiled more, Alex looked relaxed, and the performances carried an energy that reminded audiences why Rush's music has endured for generations. It became clear that the 50-something tour wasn't trying to rewrite Rush's history. Instead, it was proving that Neil Peart's legacy could be honored with honesty, respect, and authenticity. Even with thousands of fans cheering, there were moments during the 50-something tour when the absence of Neil Peart was impossible to ignore. For Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, every performance carried decades of shared memories. They had spent more than 40 years creating music with Neil, building one of rock's most respected catalogs through constant creativity, discipline, and friendship. those memories couldn't be separated from the songs. Instead of pretending nothing had changed, the tour embraced that reality. Throughout the show, the focus remained on the music Neil helped create. Songs like Tom Sawyer, Limelight, and The Spirit of Radio reminded audiences why Rush became one of the most influential progressive rock bands in history. Every performance reflected the precision, ambition, and emotional depth that defined the trio for generations. Anika Nilles understood that responsibility. Rather than trying to make herself the center of attention, she consistently served the songs. Her goal was to support Geddy and Alex while honoring the musical framework Neil had built. That approach resonated with longtime fans, many of whom praised the performances for feeling respectful instead of nostalgic for nostalgia's sake. As the tour continued, something remarkable became clear. The concerts weren't simply looking back at Rush's greatest moments. They were celebrating the values that made the band unique: musical excellence, mutual respect, and the willingness to keep growing as artists. As the 50-something tour moved from city to city, one message became impossible to miss. Rush's greatest legacy was never just its incredible catalog of songs. It was the connection those songs created between the band and generations of fans. Many people in the audience had discovered Rush in the 1970s or 1980s and had followed Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and Neil Peart for decades. Sitting beside them were younger fans who knew the music through streaming services, concert videos, or family members who had introduced them to classics like Tom Sawyer, Closer to the Heart, and YYZ. The tour brought those generations together in one room, singing the same lyrics and celebrating the same music. That shared experience reflected something Geddy and Alex have often expressed over the years. Rush's songs belong to the fans as much as they belong to the band. Every performance became a celebration of the community that had supported Rush through every era. Anika Nilles played an important role in making that possible. By respecting Neil Peart's iconic drum parts while remaining true to her own musical identity, she helped the performances feel authentic rather than staged. Her contribution allowed the music to move forward without losing sight of its history. By the final songs each night, it was clear that the 50-something tour wasn't about replacing a legend. It was about proving that great music, lasting friendships, and unforgettable performances can continue to inspire long after the final studio album is released.